There is something about womanhood and allowing yourself to really be receptive to that relationship with God that allows you to be provided for, led, protected, safe in miraculous ways. The submissive, soft, dominant, magnetic, and consciously sexual womanhood is a lot of what we need to reclaim. How are you allowing yourself to be surrendered and receptive and obedient to what God is instructing? Humble yourself, because as a woman, it's a gorgeous thing to be led. Your life is one big nervous system. If you're not feeling that level of magnetism, there is a dysregulation happening. When I cultivated this intimate relationship with God, I stopped needing a man to be God. It's not about seeking the next high. It's about erotically injecting the life that you're living. Having that deeper ingrained, like, I know who I am, I know myself to be, I follow God's wisdom above all else. There's a praise and an honor and a different level of respect that's given to that type of woman.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Home to Self podcast. I am so excited for today's conversation. I've got a really special guest on the show, someone who I've met briefly in person here in Boulder, but haven't had a whole lot of time to actually drop in with. But I have been following Elizabeth on social media, and your message is so powerful, needed, potent, and your energy is so palpable. And that's just something that I want to say right off the bat because it's captivating. And I think that's so beautifully aligned with everything that we're going to dive into today. You are a God-led consultant for bold, vision-driven brands, scaling through Eros, Elegance, and God. I mean, that is so juicy. So I'm literally just going to pass it over to you right from the get-go because I want to hear more about what that means to you. Why is Eros, Elegance, and God the fuel that you use to help ignite passion and help bring brands to life?
Ooh. Love it. Well, hi, I'm so excited to be here. And I love that you've asked me something so juicy right off the bat. Thank you. You know, it's really just a testimony to my own life experience. And I think also a lot of what the codex is of the feminine in many ways, which is I work with men, women, and couples, but I specialize in working with women. And so I think it's just really about like, you know, Venus legacy is so much around like beauty. It is around elegance. It is around grace. It is around justice, truth, freedom, beauty, love, right? All these things. And so for me, there's this sophistication to womanhood that I think has been really lost in the world or kind of just not prioritized because we live in such a hustle culture and there's so much like doing, doing, doing. And so that's where elegance really comes from. And Eros, you know, Eros love is just this adventurous, alive, like pleasure-filled, joy-filled experience. And I feel like it's the zing that keeps us connected every single day to life. And so really working deeply with erotic love, again, has been a huge part of my journey, but I think is also an element of like the feminine that has been lost, our playfulness, our romance, our joy, our adventure, and what just kind of lets us continue to breathe and show up to life every day. And then God, I mean, enough said. I really just believe you can't do anything without God. So you need God all the time. And for me, you know, I've gone through my own personal journey in strengthening my relationship with God and really creating more of a monogamous, like full on, super juicy and delicious relationship with God too. Like, I don't just see God as my father, I see him as the eternal masculine. I see him as my first husband. And it's what allows me as a woman to truly be in this matrimony type of relationship with him, to be very surrendered, to be fully fertile, to be creative, to be able to trust in what he's asking me as a woman to conceive and birth and create on this planet and guide, right? Like mentor, lead, guide in a lot of ways. And so this is a huge element of how I've lived my personal life, how I've been initiated as a woman, and in a lot of ways, what I feel is just an easier and more ecstatic relationship to life every single day and business, legacy, love that I feel like I love guiding women with.
Wow. Amazing. There's so much in there already. I'm excited to dive deeper. And yeah, I just feel like there's so much richness and power in allowing our mission and our message to be fueled by something greater than ourselves. And that's really what I hear through this, right? Like we can draw the correlation between God and spirituality and sexuality and all of this life force energy essentially, and letting that be the fuel for whatever it is we're here to create in this life is like so much of what I'm hearing. And I think this is the heart led, spiritual led entrepreneurial path that I'm excited about, because so much of my journey and so much of what's been coming through lately is this understanding that for so long I tried to do it in a very masculine, strategic way of how I thought I should,
Yeah.
bringing my creative pursuits to life, and more coming back to doing it not just my unique way and my authentic way, but especially as a female. Like, what does it look like to actually do that in a way that is authentic to who I am, and with this greater purpose and fuel driving it? And so I'm curious to hear from you a little bit more about what the feminine power is, the feminine way to create that is so different than the approach that, you know, society has kind of conditioned us into following. What is the magic of the feminine way of
Yeah.
creating?
Oh, so good. So good. So, I have a movement called progressive feminism. And in a lot of ways, it's very anti feminine, feministic, like very anti feminism. And not to shame or, shit on where we've gone as women, but more so to express like the ways of a lot of feminist approach nowadays is kind of backwards, and it's not really helping us like elevate and evolve to where I feel we have this expanded capacity and power that we can really give as women on this planet, right? Like, yes, it served us to a point of like, I guess, wanting to have like a different level of power and equality in the workplace, voting, all these things, and I see why that was of benefit from where we were. I also see how it was of detriment, right? Like I see how it's kind of pulled us out of our polarity, pulled us out of our anatomy, because now women are so powerful. Like we are just, I mean, we're master, like can do all these different things at once. We can have babies, we can build empires, we can look beautiful, we can feel all the emotions. It's like extraordinary. And when we're living in this fast-paced world now, I feel like a lot of women are operating from their head and in a lot of like control mechanisms. I see so much around, and this is why I'm so passionate around dating, relationship, and really, support the personal and the professional lives of the clients that I consult. But just really helping them. Like I see so much with women with dating and relationship where it's just like constant control, constant emasculation, mistrusting, leading, it's like all that power that they have felt now, or like, responsibility that they have taken on in their personal life. They now like don't know how to lessen their control. They don't know how to give up control. They don't know how to let a man lead. And it's just this constant like unfulfilledness, seeking, and misery in a lot of ways. And so a lot of what I feel with my movement, progressive feminism, is like, how can we really reclaim our womanhood? How can we really come into what God has designed us to be? Actually, in the Bible, it talks about how God made Adam, like he made him out of dirt, but he like crafted and designed the feminine. He like, and when he took like on the seventh day when he made her, after he made her, he knew he could rest and God could finally sleep because he made woman. And he perfectly designed her. And it's like, where have we lost that in society? It's like recognizing you are the Barbie movie. You can do all the things, right? And it's also like, where does it count with what you're feeling inside? Like what I really believe true femininity is that it's got that soft kind of submissive nature to it, as well as that very dominant, confident, like magnetic presence. And I think a lot of what has been repressed, like very coherent sensuality, sexuality, and devotion, the sacred holy trinity of what the feminine is, like this deep level of devotion and appreciation and love, this overflowing capacity of brilliance and genius, and I can do all these things and I'm powerful, and also like being willing to kind of open up what's possible in the sexual space and connecting deeper to God. Supporting, I think, in a lot of ways, her own magnificence, her own magnetism, through connecting deeper to her body in the sensual and sexual approach, but also like, and not harvesting that in relationship dynamics, and not emasculating men, controlling, feeling mistrusting, like all of these things, like being able to give and overflow and help him go out in the world and like dominate, right? If we're talking about a relationship between a man and woman, which I'm super passionate about, is just like, how are you giving your appreciation, your devotion, and your sensuality and sexuality when it's rightfully earned, to also be able to let that man go and conquer the world? So yeah, so I think like the submissive, kind of soft, dominant, magnetic, and like consciously sexual womanhood is a lot of what we need to reclaim. I think it's been kind of distorted in a lot of ways and just like fabricated, and women just losing their way, and so that's what my movement is all about, just really helping women reclaim that level of sophistication in their womanhood and embody it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's like we had to swing from one extreme to the other in order to then hopefully find the balance between both. Like both the masculine and the feminine have their superpowers, and it's this beautiful like balance that comes together, right? Like divine union, the yin and the yang. Like it fits together really beautifully and can actually amplify both energies when we both understand the power that lies in both energies. And so with that said, like I'm curious if you can give some more like practical, like what does it look like to actually be in our feminine power as we create something, whether that is women who want to birth children and bring children and family is like devote their life to that, or women who are here to build creative empires. Like what does it look like to actually start creating from the feminine versus what we've been taught in this very heady approach?
Yeah, so good. Honestly, I think what I love about womanhood is it's so unique to the like each individual woman. I can't say that like my background and my journey is going to be completely parallel to another woman's, but what I do know about like feminism and like feminine energy and womanhood is, you know, our wombs, the connection that we hold to our wombs, the connection that we hold to our energy, our emotions, like our intuition, our creativity, like it's precious. And that really needs to be honored, I feel, daily, and also another thing, and I think this is kind of unique to my experience, but that receptivity process, and a lot of what I like to guide women with is like, how are you listening deep to God? How are you allowing yourself to be surrendered and receptive and obedient to what God is instructing for you as a woman? And I think a lot of women find like, okay, but I don't have time for that. I've got a busy schedule. I'm honoring the kids. I've got to like put all these business things in place. I don't need a routine. Like my vitality, my Eros, my adventure, my pleasure, my aliveness is my routine. And it's like, yeah. And also like humble yourself, because as a woman, like it's a gorgeous thing to be led. As a woman, it actually makes you more magnetic to trust the wisdom that is coming through, maybe from like, I'd say the Holy Spirit or your intuition. They are one and the same, or God or God. God, like trust what's coming through, listen to it, be obedient to it, because it knows more than your tiny ego and the control mechanism that you might have, and like where you are right now, that wants to like not just liberate you, but really set you on the path of like a more easeful, graceful destiny. And so I would say developing a strong relationship to that receptive, like I'm listening to the Holy Spirit, my intuition, I'm connecting to my womb. You know, every single like every single person that a woman has slept with, she carries that karma in her womb. So a lot of the work that I have done is like deep, deep womb work and like deep, like coming, if you really want to come into your womanhood and your femininity, it's about understanding the relationship to your body, understanding the relationship to your hips and the emotions that they carry, to your womb and the intelligence that it sources, and developing a healthy relationship to this part of who you are, right? So, like, a lot of what I feel has been supportive for me with that and with my clients is like I do neuron linguistic reprogramming work, like trauma therapy, deep somatic work, womb healing, womb cleanses. Like, this is all stuff that I've done to help women kind of connect deeper to their feminine. And it's interesting actually with business, when you're I think what women need to hear too is when you're honoring your emotions, when you are regulating your nervous system, when you are connecting deeper to the intelligence that lives in your creative center, aka your womb or your pussy, right? Like your yoni, it's like this power center, this primal center that wants to help you dominate in the world. It's like where your the solar plexus, the sacral chakra, and the root chakra are like how we show up in the world, right? It is our dominance. It is our primal energy. It is the power of the feminine. I feel like it is truly like what I say as Dom womanhood. So it's your dominant womanhood. It's where you get to show up with your conviction and your authority. But if you're not taking the upper chakras and you're not being receptive and listening and being submissive to trusting what God is communicating to you, then you can't actually dominate in the world integrally. I'd say like it's kind of like we're driven more by ego versus our primal power and our wise power. And so really having that, cultivating that relationship to your receptivity, to your, I'd say also a lot of feminists are like, oh, but I don't want to, like, it's that rebellion, right? That rebellion that we have that we're like, oh, I don't want to listen, or I've got to do this. My to-do list comes first. And it's like, yes. And like, give yourself 5 minutes just to close your eyes, breathe, place your hands on your wombs, and just like listen to what's coming through. And give yourself 10 minutes, you'll be able to go deeper. I actually have this mantra that I'll say to myself, which I'll give here. The deeper I listen, the more wisdom I receive, and the more I can apply my brilliant self to the world. And it's true. Like, I feel like the deeper I go, the more brilliant I get to like extract that information out of me and give it to the world, in my business, in my leadership, in my creativity, in my relationship dynamics, in like the cheeky text that I want to send to like a man that I'm dating, right? Or in like the when I'm in a relationship, like, the playful or thoughtful kind of like way I want to spice up and zing up the relationship when we got into a monotonous routine. It's like that's what allows that all to come through in the busyness of life, and that is innately very feminine. It is this like, it's this depth and this sustenance that is missed a lot in the world unless we actually pause to extract it within ourselves and also take time to devote to it. And there was a time in my life, where I was caught in that too, where it was like, I'm just killing it in business. I'm so passionate about my creativity. I'm doing all this stuff. And then I kept seeing where my emotional process was like derailing, like the ways that I could actually leap further in dating and in my, like, where I really wanted to take my leadership and my influence. And it wasn't until I took that time to like regulate my nervous system and understand a little bit more about what was happening in my emotional process and like release energy from my past that I was able to almost like slingshot forward really fast. Right. And so it's like, I think a lot of women think it's going to take them out of life. And it's actually something that helps you plug into a momentum and accelerate to where you want to go with your values sourced and constantly partnered with you. And that is very feminine as well. Yeah, so that's what I would say around that. I'd say like another fun thing with love or relationship, like that's just how to show up in general, like with womanhood, right? But if we're like something specific that I can give with like business or love, for when I connect deeper to my sensuality, when I like put on a silk, sexy robe, or when I do mirror work with myself, when I place my hands on my womb and I breathe and I ask those deeper questions with God and I listen to the wisdom that He offers me, it's like, again, a more brilliant or a more like a richer version of who I am comes out and like sends the text, right? Comes out and creates the invitation, comes out and is like astonished with like the outfit that I want to put on. And like, it's like you get to surprise yourself with how incredible you are, And so, and then as far as like business, like something that I've really noticed with the dom and the sub is it's like the more that I pause and let God actually guide me with my steps every single day, it's like you open up these, I say it's God's secret door. It's like you open up God's secret door to this like other timeline, this other portal where auspiciousness wants to meet you, where you are truly provided for outside of the way that you could have planned it yourself. And again, it comes from listening. And then, okay, I'm lit up by what's coming through. Okay, that timeline doesn't really make sense. I don't really know how that's going to like materialize or manifest, but I'm willing to trust and I'm willing to create with the blueprint that like you've given me, right? And then you put it in motion, you take the action steps, and it's astonishing. Like I've had miracle after miracle after miracle, or just like this auspicious connection, or this new person coming into my world, this divine collaboration. It's connected me to this other relationship, and that's led to clients and sales, or it's led to, I mean, just new passions or hobbies that were something so deep within me that I never had time to explore, that actually are huge elements to my dharma or to my purpose and the influence that I want to give and how to really make impact and touch other people's lives. And so I think it's really about, again, like going back to that receptivity in business or love, and just letting yourself be courageous to trust in how you're being guided, because that is a level being provided for. And it doesn't have to make sense. And then you just show up in your conviction, your confidence, your dominance, and go for it.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And there's like two parts to this that are really coming through for me that I'd love for you to dive into deeper, because what I'm hearing is like, right, the so much of the beauty and the power of the feminine is this receptivity. So I love how you kind of correlated that both with like us being receptive to God, to the universe, your intuition, whatever resonates for you, and that coming through. But in order to do that, it's like our practice is that devotion to that
Mhm.
source coming through us, and listening and being receptive, like us being the channel that allows the signal to land, and then creating from that
Yeah.
place. And I know for my own life, like that is the magic. Like that's when you really are in the sweet spot and the synchronicities appear and the magic just starts to flow, right? You're being guided by something that is so much higher and more potent. And so to me, I'm hearing kind of like these two steps here is like, in order to be that clear channel, in order to be that vessel that can listen and tune in and actually receive, there has to be a certain state of our nervous system being regulated, right? And I know you talk a lot about, like, you have this line in one of your pieces on social media. It says like your life is one big nervous system,
Yeah.
which would love for you to break down. So it's like the nervous system that actually allows the receptivity to be open, and receive. And then on the other side of that, when the message actually comes through, which I think is, this is a spot where a lot of women get stuck, is trusting it. Right, you said courageous, like taking the actual, like when you hear the message, to actually have the conviction and the courage to act on it and not fall into comparison and doubt and like, who am I? So I'd love for you to talk about those two steps that I'm hearing here.
Yeah, honestly, like feminine energy is so magnetic. And if you're not feeling that and what I mean by magnetism is like there's a visibility, there is a charisma, there is an energy that you uphold that naturally gravitates things into your field without you lifting a finger. And it's because of, I guess you could say, the weights that you're lifting yours, right? The ways that you're tending to your nervous system, the ways that you're emotionally regulating, the ways that you're working on your confidence, the ways that you're willing to be authoritative in your like visibility and putting yourself out there, getting in the right types of spaces and arenas. And I think the thing is, it's like, if you're not feeling that level of magnetism, there is a dysregulation happening. And it's really fascinating because we live in an extremely dysregulated world. And I mean, you walk outside your front door and it's like anxiety 101. Like, you know, and what I mean by that is it's like you walk outside and it's like temptation, noise, overload. And so if you do not have a clear compass within yourself with a regulated nervous system, you will get harvested by that energy. You will start to take on all of these other belief structures from the world outside of you versus the internal structure that you've created, the internal devotion that you have allowed yourself to devote to. And so it's very anxious out there. It's also very avoidant, and they go hand in hand, right? So just constant stimulation to not deal with the stuff that's underneath. Like, okay, I'm going to go just treat myself to this latte, go out for lunch, meet my friend for drinks, go out dancing. It's like go, 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 go. And if that is something that you're doing all the time, or let's put it into business, right? Like, I'm going to go work on my computer, like be sitting here for 3 hours. Then I've got this connection, this networking group, and I'm going on this date. It's like if you're constantly filling your schedule with so much doing, you have to ask yourself, like, where is your sympathetic nervous system and your parasympathetic nervous system? Not actually knowing how to receive, and not actually even having the intelligence of when you're properly in freeze, flight, or like pivot mode, right? Because that's what the dysregulation does, is it makes you mistrust yourself. It makes you second guess, you know, the discernment that you're creating or the moves that you want to make. It makes you not have the confidence to back that up. Or worse, it makes you copy, paste, and mimic everybody else around you because you don't know who you are. And therefore, and I talked about this actually on a recent podcast episode that I did with my podcast, Normalizing the Taboo, where I was just like, the thing that I'm really sitting with is you can be a trend consumer or you can be a trailblazing leader. And what do you want to do? If you have a dysregulated nervous system, then you're constantly just eating up every single trend, right? Or you're walking out your front door and you are just immediately harvested or seduced by the temptations of the material realm, by like the noise, and you don't know what's really yours. And that will quite literally stunt your magnetism, because now you're just a copy paste mimic version of everybody else, or you're just creating in that way like everybody else. You're not actually standing out with your unique thing that God has perfectly designed you to be, right? He has sculpted and designed the feminine, and he could rest after he made her because she's the closest thing to him on earth. And so it's important to reclaim that. Um, I feel like with the nervous system and with dysregulation, you know, it's your life is one big nervous system, right? So I do believe that you can have lots of success, right? Like, I mean, my nervous system was pretty dysregulated. I was doing deeper somatic work when I was heavily involved with like erotic and tantric work in 2022, 2023. And I was doing really deep somatic work, like going deep inside of the anatomy of my womanhood, going deep inside my yoni, deep inside my pussy, my cervix, my G spot, like going really in there and seeing where I was holding a lot of emotional entanglement and like baggage from my past and mistrust with men. And I actually have a program called Rose Gold Oracle where, you know, it's really guiding women very deeply into that process and that journey to fully come into a different level of embodied power and a different level of regulated magnetism. So I did a lot of that work during that time, and I was still able to be extremely successful. Like, I think I made like 70K in the first 5 months of the year in 2023. And then I realized like you can still be extremely successful and be dysregulated. I want to be clear about that. What I have learned deeply from God is it will not come without a cost. So other things in your life will be sacrificed. You know, you can have all the money in the world and you can have all the creativity and feel high on life and like you are fully of influence. But I promise you, other things with your health, your relationships, your love life, I mean, even birthing children too early and being in the NICU and having complications, like this is all nervous system dysregulation. And so if you're you can be successful but not at a cost. Something will be sacrificed. And I feel like there's a way to live in, I'm all about harmony, right? Like I'm all about like harmonizing the hot and the holy in your life, being the sub and the dom in your life. And it's like you can have the harmony. You can have the harmony in your personal and professional life. It just comes back to like regulating your nervous system so you don't have to um, cost to receive. God does ask for us to sacrifice certain things, but when you're regulated, you witness it and see it more as a sacrament, as an offering. And it's not taking you out of your power. It's not hurting other people. And it's not, I feel, making you have to work harder to like move forward.
Yeah, that's so powerful. And it's so true. It's like it's also to me like I think of like the lack of sustainability that comes from that constant like pushing from fight or flight. And it takes such a toll on our bodies and our physical health. And like you said, it just comes at a cost and it'll show up differently for different people. So I just think that it's not that it can't be done that way, but it's like there's such a better way, right? Is what
Well,
I'm
and it just
hearing
doesn't
is
feel
like,
feminine. It doesn't feel
mm,
feminine to do it that way, right? Like
yeah,
it
it's
just
true.
feels if we're here to be embodied like women, right? And this is why I really bring God so deeply into the way that I consult and the way that I lead and the way that I influence, because it's like he wants to provide for you in miraculous ways. You're going to go through hardships, absolutely. Like that is growing in life. That is becoming a better version of yourself. That's risking to reward, right? It's risking for reward. That's all. You're edging every single day to be the better version of who you are. But there is something about womanhood and allowing yourself to really be receptive to that relationship with God that allows you to be provided for, led, protected, safe in miraculous ways. And there isn't this same cost of sacrifice. And I truly feel that that is the evolution that women need to reclaim. Because if we're being very real, God has been so harvested by religion, and there's so much pain within that topic. And I hear this a lot, right? Because I came from shamanism to witchery to priestess to all this stuff that I did, tantric and eroticism, to literally getting baptized in February and giving my life to Christ. And it's like, and my relationship with Christ is unique. It's very unique. And I see him, right, as like my first husband. So it's not like most Christians or Catholics hold, right? But I see it as this evolution of womanhood where I'm like, no, but you don't understand. I am provided for every single day with miracles, every single day, safe, protected, led. It's extraordinary, so blessed. And this is what happens when you really come into a different type of regulation and you're not sacrificing.
Yeah, and that's so much of what, I mean, people in general, but especially women are seeking. And they're seeking it externally until they find the relationship, whether it's with God or themselves or
Mhm.
something, right? Where it's internal because it's the safety, it's the love, it's the validation, it's the being cared for and provided for that, like, those needs then get so externalized. And I think that that's really where we end up going in a direction that is not in alignment for us. And I also believe that that kind of relationship, that kind of trust and safety that you feel in your body is what is needed to then honor what you receive and trust it enough to go have the courage to build and create from that place, right?
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about that. And yeah, like I mentioned earlier, I feel like a lot of people, a lot of women especially, it's like a lot of them know what is on their heart, what that desire is, but they get stuck actually doing it because of comparison, because of doubt, because of fear. Dysregulation aside, like, what does it actually take to then trust and honor the message you receive?
Yeah. So again, along with all the regulation and everything we're talking about, it really does require that you're in this like love of self. I think that's the biggest thing. Like, it's how many women, oh my gosh, how many women like, don't even how many women jump in the shower and just like scrub down their body really, really fast and then get out of the shower? How many women like are putting their makeup on in the mirror and they don't even take a moment to breathe themselves in? How many women at the end of the night are just washing up their face and they're like, okay, getting into bed, right? It's like, take time with yourself. Take time to get to know you. Take time to love yourself. Like we hear this all the time, but there's a richer element of feminism and a richer element of our womanhood that asks us to spend intimate and quality time with ourselves. It's not just about like, I love myself and I do this mantra work and I journal all day and I go to these goddess circles. It's like, no, like take time to be in an intimate relationship with who you are, with what you desire out of life, with what is coming through you, speaking to you, and get curious about why. Get curious about why that's coming through you. And I actually had a podcast episode around this too called Desire Detox. I think it's also important to presence that not all desires are for you. So when you get curious on like, why do I have this desire? Get curious on where it's planted. Is it planted because it's part of the future that you're cultivating? Is it planted because it's part of the influence that God and you have decided before you came here that you're here to give? Or is it planted because you need some sort of validation? Or because it's like rooted in some sort of thing from your past that you're trying to like prove to men that you can be like a powerful woman in the world and be equal to them? Like get curious about where this desire is planted, because again, you can be successful and all the things that you want can materialize, but it that success is not sustainable when it's coming from a dysregulated or incoherent desire. And on top of that, really make love and get intimate with the desires that come from your center, your womb, your heart, your knowing it's a part of your destiny. You know, for me, I recently got a TV show on my brand back in the beginning of June, and I've wanted to bring my work to the entertainment industry, and it's where I've come from. Like I've been a performer since I was 3 years old, and multimedia is part of what I do as well. And so I was like, oh my gosh, like I've wanted to do this for years. And I had to get really clear on myself, like when it happened and I was revving up. I was like taking all the action steps. I was like, you know, getting investors, getting sponsorship. I was looking into the trademarking of my brand, all these different things. And then I was like, I started to see other parts of my business fall through the cracks. And I started to see God was partnering with me in that process. And that's a huge thing. Like, if you partner with your own intimate relationship to yourself, also partner with the intimate relationship that you hold with Source. Because every single day, moving with that moment to moment every single day will quite literally lead you and guide you to know what is for you and what is maybe not right now. And that was the reality that I experienced. It was for me, for me, for me, for me, for me for like 2.5 weeks. And then things started to fall through the cracks in my business. I started to get real with myself that I was like, oh my gosh, I can do this, but at what cost? Will I have time to date? Will I have time to sing worship music at my church? Will I have time to work with kids like I want to do? These are all desires on my heart. So I can go and do this desire that I've had for 3 years, but at what cost of these desires? And I can also quite literally like get my dominant CEO woman like making this shit happen. I've materialized and manifest every single thing that I've ever wanted in my life. And so it's like, you know, I can make this happen. And is it sustainable? What's going to be sacrificed in the process? So not all desires, and if you have that intimate relationship with yourself and that intimate relationship with Source, then it's easier to let go what's not meant to be yours. Say, okay, not right now. I will strategically and structurally work on this on the back end to create where I'm going. And also, it releases the pressure that you put on yourself. And that's one thing I want to highlight. Women, you pressurize yourself way too much. You pressurize yourself to, because there's so much comparison, right? Like pressurize yourself to have the 10 figure, like, or the 10 figure, the $10,000 a month, the $50,000 a month, the $100,000 a month in your business, to have your name be shared in rooms that you're not even walking in, to you know, have the man that's taking you on these trips around the world, that's giving you orgasm after orgasm. It's like you're pressurizing your life way too much. Some like, let yourself find ease in what is for you right now and what is not for you right now, because that is the point of grace. And that grace is innately feminine. And that grace is also going to quite literally shift your magnetism so you feel confident, so you feel worthy, so you feel trusting. It's just a natural process that happens. You get out of your head because you're more surrendered in your body. You're more surrendered in that intimate relationship with source. You're more surrendered in the intimate relationship with knowing what's for you and what's not and being clear on that. And that it's like this unattached magnetism that everybody wants a bite of. And that's what happened for me when I walked away from that TV thing. Yeah, I had stories where I was like, oh my God, like, well, what are people going to think? Right? Like, I'm passing up on this. And then it was also like, it doesn't matter because it's just important for me to get clear on what I think and what God thinks about it and my why, and my message, my trailblazing leadership behind it. What message do I need to share with other women to stop killing themselves, comparing themselves, like to try to like one up the woman next to them. It's like, or one up where they were last month. Like there's such an easier approach that will have you feeling more embodied and more surrendered from your control around it, because your control around it is quite literally like, I think about like a tight yoni. It's like your control is just like this tight thing, and it's like, not pleasure filled. It's probably painful when you're having sex, and it's like, but if you're like released, it's like you can take more, you can feel more euphoria, you can give more pleasure, you're in more of your beauty, you're in more of your magnetism. And it's like you will feel more confident, you will feel more feminine, you will feel soft. It's important to, yeah, follow the softness. That's what I would say. There's moments and seasons in life where you're going to be asked to edge. And there was like a 2.5 week period where I was like edged, right? To take on that TV thing. And then there was that moment of discernment, that bridge that I crossed because I have an intimate relationship with myself and source, where I was like, oh, nope, let me get clear. Am I supposed to keep going here and ignore Holy Spirit, my intuition and God, my body? Or am I supposed to lean in and surrender to the cues and get curious about why that desire is not right now and why these ones are a priority and how to lead as an influential frequency from that point?
How does this translate into relationships? Because I'm loving everything that you're saying, and I'm so curious to start to pivot the conversation into the dynamic between the masculine and the feminine, and how all of these beautiful qualities in us stepping into our magnetism and receptivity and being able to, and like that connection to ourself and God and all of it, like I see it so deeply, and I'm so curious to hear how you help women like use all of that magic within relationship.
Mm. Relationships are so exciting for me. I mean, there is nothing more erotic than in early stage dating, right? Like so many people find so much pain in early stage dating, and I get it. I did too. Now I'm just like, oh my God, it is the most erotic thing on the planet because the playfulness, the mystery, the risk for reward, the willingness to just be like the art of flirtation and seduction and dispensing vulnerability and being emotionally available and communicating, like all of these things. It's gorgeous. It's like a movie that you never want to stop watching. And so it's really like, for me, the nervous system like helps you become more emotionally aware. So if you're not dysregulated in your nervous system, then you understand where you're having your own anxious tendencies, your own disorganized attachments, your own avoidant tendencies. And I'm going to be real, it's excruciating sometimes to do that work. Like I come from, I was a victim of sexual assault. I have trauma, sexual trauma, and so and relationships and love have been a pain point. They were a huge pain point my whole life because I thought I was going to be married and have like 5 kids already at like 26, right? 26, 30 years old. And I still don't have the love of my life. And I'm so grateful because I feel like God has designed me to be a master at dating and relationship. And it's been so fun to get to the point of, oh my God, it is exciting. I kid you not. Every single time I leave the house and I have like the intention, I'm in right relationship with the intention of, ooh, I want to flirt. I'm going to put myself out there today. I'm going to smile. I'm going to smize. All these things with my, I smile with my eyes, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I kid you not, I get approached every single time. I get asked out on dates every single time. I haven't been on a dating app in over a year, haven't needed to be. I prefer meeting men in the wild, and I actually have it's a beautiful conquering thing for dating and relationship too, to like get out of our tech and to stop swiping and to like actually put ourselves out there and allow energy to attract energy. So, it's the nervous system is important. Understanding your attachment styles and dating, all of these are super important. Cultivating that intimate, loving relationship with self. And I have to be real, when I cultivated this intimate relationship with God, I stopped needing a man to be God. I stopped
Mm.
needing a man to have to provide, protect, lead, and make me safe 24 fucking 7. I didn't need that anymore when I allowed God to do that for me. And so I was able to actually take these like blinders that I couldn't see with men before, where it was kind of this like almost too dominant energy in relationships, or too um my standards were too fierce, my boundaries were too fierce, my desires were too fierce, that it didn't give any room for a man to lead and to show me. Like, we have to understand, like, since the Me Too movement, we have really emasculated men. There are even super confident men that I know that have difficulty, like, still smiling at a woman in public because of the ways that they have now been kind of oh, what's the word I want to say? Dismissed, right? And so we have to understand, like, we've wanted men to get more in touch with their emotions, and there's a cost and a detriment to that too. And so it's like, it's allowing that polarity attraction to be there again. And when I've cultivated that relationship, and a lot of the ways that I guide my clients to cultivate that relationship with God as their first husband, is it's like, now you don't expect your man to like lead every date. You don't expect him to do these things. There's a different way that, you depressurize him, and you depressurize yourself, so you're not leading from your mind anymore. You're not like seeing this thing that you saw on social media that you're like, oh, these are the 5 steps to attract, or these are the 5 steps to keep him, and this is the 5 steps. It's like, oh, well, you're not like, being an asshole and like not being yourself in a relationship dynamic. You're just allowing yourself to actually communicate what's on your heart and soul, recognize that this is a stranger, and you don't have to share your entire trauma and life story with them. Create some mystery, be emotionally available, and also dispense your vulnerability, right? Like, he's got to earn access to you over time, and enjoy the process of dating. It's playful, it's romantic, it's fun. Have fun dating. Stop having your clipboard, seeing if he checks the 15 qualities that you have to have. And also, like, one thing I like to say too is like, know your non-negotiables. Like, I have 3 main non-negotiables. Everything else are preferences. Your preferences, like, you can't be so tight and rigid. Like, that's one thing I hear from men all the time. Like, when they'll go on dates, and like the women just like can't stop asking them questions about like where they're going to go on like a first date or a second date. And it's like, yo, like, that's not sexy. It's not feminine. You're leading and you're controlling the dynamic. Like, be playful, be like mysterious. Like, you don't even know this guy, and you don't need to know if he's going to be the man that's going to put a ring on your finger. Like, just have fun, fuck around and find out, right? Like, have more fun. So I love dating and relationship. I have a program called Irresistibly Her, which is like my obsession. It's all about like erotically embodying, like finding that joy, that pleasure, adventure, and aliveness within yourself, and how to like show up like that in the dating process. Um, and then with long-term relationship, I think the biggest thing that I hear a lot is just, the spark goes out, right? It's like the spark goes out, the eyes wander, and a lot of the times women have lost their sexual drive. And a lot of that is because you've gotten too in routine. So it's the same thing. You've kind of forgot to make love to your life. You forgot to date your friends, to date yourself, to date life. And when you do that, like, there's a different level of like that zinginess or that alertness or that spunk and that spark that comes in you that just naturally overflows for I'll speak more in like men and women dynamics because that's a lot of what I consult. But for your man, right? If you get too routine oriented, it's routine is good and it's also not super feminine. It's masculine. So you want to also have the spontaneity. You want to have the adventure. You want to have the aliveness of it not always following the book. And it's important also to continue to make love to yourself physically. I think a lot of the times women get in these relationships and they just now outsource all their sexuality to their man. And then they've stopped learning about their sexuality and their sensuality within themselves. First of all, a man will never have an orgasm like you do, ever. Like, you are the portal between heaven and earth. Like, you quite literally show him a world that he can't access without the feminine. So it's important that you're continuing to access that world within yourself so you can also overflow it. So you don't feel like it's a chore to have sex. So you don't feel like it's like, he's taking from you when you're having sex, right? Like, it's like you got to keep making love to yourself. And that's in the physical, that's also in the energetic. And I think it's really, really important to continue to have your own thing creatively. I think another thing that happens in relationships, and this is a huge element of what I speak about too, it's your personal and your professional life. Love and legacy get to thrive side by side. You're not here to just be a mom and a wife. You're also here to be a mother of life, a creator. Like, you got this womb inside of you that wants to do things, like have your own passions, have your own pleasures, have your own joys, have your own pursuits, your creative hobbies. Put something out there because that will keep feeding you aliveness as well. And that is something that not just attracts him, because you've got your own thing and you're not relying on him to do everything. And you're also not in your monotonous routine of like cooking food all the time and like making sure that everybody's like fed and taken care of. And like, just making sure that you're doing your duties by having sex with your man. It's like, he's going to feel all that. Right. So your creative pursuits allow you to also be tangible in how he feels you, in the ways that he craves you, that he yearns for you. That can get lost a lot, that spark where you just start to kind of see each other as roommates versus like the honeymoon phase. Like, you can keep that going for life. So a lot of that is just really erotically injecting your life and making love to yourself energetically, physically, getting curious about your creative pursuits, about your hobbies, and just knowing too, as a woman, you're constantly coming alive, right? Like, this is your blueprint, this is your nature. So find ways that you can come alive in the city that you live in, that you can come alive in the home that you're making dinner in, that you're tending to your family in, that you're creating in. Like, I mean, it's so simple. I recently I recently was like ordering my coffees on Nespresso. I have like Nespresso and a French press, and I was like, let's just change it up and get some like pistachio espressos and get some pistachio syrup and like some pistachio milk. And I'm like, I just want to make my own pistachio lattes. It's like that's how I would erotically inject how I'm creating at home, right? Because you can also get really stale, and that's important too to talk about. Like, you don't have to seek the next high. It's not about seeking the next high. It's about erotically injecting the life that you're living. So you're not looking for the pleasure or the sustenance outside of, the relationship that you've cultivated with your business or the relationship that you've cultivated with your man. And you're not like getting bored, and you're not like losing or forgetting why you fell in love with this person or why you fell in love with this mission to begin with. So erotically inject in other ways to kind of like stimulate the relationship that you hold that's long term, or the relationship with your business.
I love that. I really feel like so much of the underlying theme there is like coming to life within yourself again, right? Like bringing that aliveness back in through all these different ways. And like, as the feminine, really, to bring your sensuality back online, which is your life force energy, your creativity, that then allows your magnetism to be what it is, that helps you in business and relationships and everything. Is like, how can you start to cultivate that again with yourself and with source? And that it's like when you feel it within, the world responds to it. It just does. And like we've felt that. And so much of it is like the illusion of thinking that it can only come through external sources. And then we're so
Yeah,
pulled in all directions and we feel like we're losing it here, and then we hold on to it there, and then we seek it there, and it's just this like fragmentation that happens. And I feel
yeah,
like our magnetism really is like that, like self created, God created pleasure and
100%.
aliveness.
Yeah, and that's really important that you mentioned that, Lily, because it's like if it's not coming from that God centered and that self centered kind of aliveness, like it is this external thing that you're grasping for and it's disembodied and it's ungrounded. And it's kind of like a chihuahua. I see it like a chihuahua dog that's just like starving. It's just it's chirping and it's jumping all around and it's like, and that is not sexy. That's like little girl energy. Like queenly energy is, it's grounded. It is that magnetism that just pulls everything into its field. And so that was super important that you mentioned that too, because it's very easy to fabricate magnetism.
Yep.
Or I won't say magnetism. It's easy to fabricate attraction and allure. It's easy to fabricate charm, but there's a depth and a sustenance that comes in to, I'm thinking about Proverbs 31 in the Bible, the Proverbs 31 woman, right? It's like the woman who has, like, who fears the Lord. And in a lot of ways, I would say fears the Lord as she's surrendered and submitted herself to that God influence, and understands who she is. Like, that is the woman that is like praised by all, because it's a different level of magnetism. It's a different level of like, this isn't like, men will see that chihuahua female energy as unattractive or just easy access, right? Like, and that's not like a true masculine man wants to pursue something. He wants to court something. He wants to try to conquer something. And so having that deeper ingrained, like, I know who I am. I know myself to be. I follow God's wisdom above all else. Like, I've quite literally seen it with the men that are in my life. Right now I'm kind of connecting with two men, but like the men that are in my life, it's like addicted. They're like absolutely addicted to me. They're like, the godly womanhood that you hold is what I've wanted my whole life. There's a praise and an honor and a different level of respect that's given to that type of woman.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is the fuel. I mean, it's such a beautiful conversation because all of these topics are so deeply connected, and
Mhm.
to just be creating life and doing that from a place of devotion to self, to God, is such a different energy, and it's so palpable. And so I can't believe we've already talked for an hour. This is crazy. I feel like I could keep going for another few hours, but I'm so grateful for your wisdom, for your embodiment. It is felt. And yeah, just it's so beautiful to see another woman in her power, in her authenticity, in her magnetism, because we help each other rise. And so
Mm.
that could be a whole conversation about the sisterhood wound. But for now, I just want to say thank you and ask you to share with the listeners. First of all, if there's any last thoughts that are coming through, anything intuitively that wants to be shared that hasn't already, that I haven't asked you. And if not, and also if there is, share a little bit about how people can connect with you, what you have coming down the pipeline.
Beautiful. So, first of all, we should definitely have that conversation. I'll have you on
Yeah,
normalizing the taboo, and we can put that conversation on both of our
let's go.
podcasts. Let's definitely do that. Um, yeah. And then I think the only thing that's, I feel like I've shared a lot, but I think the only thing that I would really presence is just, um, I'm feeling this call to express the value and the importance of not procrastinating this type of relationship of yourself. It's, again, easy with the to-do list and the constant like busyness and hurriness and like walking out your front door and being tempted by all the noise, and the value that your life will start to enrich with by prioritizing and no longer procrastinating the enriched relationship that you have with your womanhood and your feminine energy. Like, that is the key to everything that you were searching for, period. It's literally the key. because it is the mystery. It is the never ending portal to heaven on earth. It is the thing that makes men buckle at their knees. It is the thing that has been it's so precious and it's so sacred and has been very distorted and very lost. And if you can actually cultivate your unique relationship with it, you will be unstoppable. And you will actually create influence just by the flesh that you possess. So I really just wanted to presence that. It feels important. And obviously, you and I both specialize in doing a lot of that work. Um, Yeah, and ways to connect with me. I have a podcast as well called Normalizing the Taboo. I am trying to get it on other platforms because it's only on Spotify right now. I have got to prioritize getting it on other platforms, but it's fun. We talk about everything that you could possibly think about where that could go. It's fantastic. Just really like deep dive conversations. It's super fun. And I'm on Instagram at the Venus Legacy. You can also connect with me on Facebook. I don't do Facebook too much, but if you're not on Instagram, connect with me on social at Elizabeth Ashley and Facebook. And yeah, I've got a fun product suite of all these different courses that I've done, the hot and holy library of transformation. It's quite yummy. Yeah, and then right now, yeah, I'm in a space of cultivating some pretty big moves. I'm working on a membership, a Venus Legacy membership, and I'm still working out what that's going to look like. So there's some things, but I'm keeping it still for myself. But definitely stay tuned to social media or get on my mailing list because it's going to be fantastic. I'm very, very excited about it. I wanted to be able to access, a lot of my courses, my mastermind, my one-on-one work is a little bit more exclusive, high priced. And so I wanted to be able to create something that was a little more accessible to more people and more women. And I'm very, very excited about where it's going. On top of that, I am also cultivating behind the scenes a brick and mortar concept that I'm going to be building. And TV is going to be involved with that too. So I'm super stoked with that. Again, if you want to like all behind the scenes, like yummy, juicy stuff, like follow me on Instagram because that's where I share a lot of it. But yeah, that's kind of what's coming, I guess you could say. Uh, yeah. And I really am super passionate about just being the right hand woman to whatever it is that you got going on. Like I'm a 2-4 projector. So being able to see into people's like stuff immediately and like give them like business design, creative design, like love tips. Like I'm so passionate about it. I get so giddy. I love it so much. So like I do a lot of consulting from 1 week to 6 week, to also like deeper, 3 months, 6 month, 1 year intensive. So reach out to me. We can flirt, connect, see how I might be a fit in your life. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to express that and share that too. It's fun. And thank you so much for having me.
Thank
This was
you.
a beautiful conversation. I'm excited to have you on my
Yes.
podcast.
Yes, no, this has been so beautiful and life-giving. I just feel
Oh,
more, I
yeah,
feel more life force in me. And that's always
yeah.
how I know a conversation is in alignment when you walk away with more energy, more excitement, more inspiration. And I already know that the listeners are feeling the same way. And just, yeah, thank you for sharing your wisdom. Thank you for doing this work on yourself and then helping others to rise really in their feminine power. And in relationships, like all this work is so important to change the collective trajectory of this planet and of humanity. And so it's so much bigger than even just the individual. And I see that and I honor that. And I will include all your information in the show notes below for easy access for people. Go connect with Elizabeth. Your Instagram is amazing. It's just such a fun place to stay connected. And thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. It was such a joy. I also feel so much life-giving energy. So I'm excited for our round 2 when it's divinely timed. And yeah, I'm just excited for everybody here. So thank you.
Yes. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. We will talk to you soon.